Hey everybody, it's Patty Dobrovolsky with Up Your Creative Genius and our Creative Genius U series. This is week 2, using our imagination, which is our first part of the equation, but second module on it. In the imagination, you have so many options. Your imagination is so powerful when you give it the permission to envision a positive future. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it is just cool. It sends you filled with serotonin and you feel like, whoa, that was so much coolness in that daydream I just had, right? And so this week, I want to talk about how you can really nail that use of your imagination to help you change your behavior and shift it in a powerful way without working quite so hard. Now, I was working with a corporate VP, and she wanted to change her team's behavior. In her team, she had really smart people, and yet every time they went to make a decision, they would default to her and ask her, what do you think about this? Is this the right thing to do? And she was so tired of having everything come through her desk that she was like, if you can help me shift this behavior, I would love that. And so I set up a team chartering process. Now, a team charter is where you change behavior and you talk about it so that you can see what are the norms of how we do things now and what do we want to continue to do. And so I set it up like an indoor board game. And the different squares were brightly colored in the room, and they had the typical steps of a process. We just chose one process. And we wrote those steps on it, and then you would move to that step, and you describe what you would do in it. Well, I put some random squares in there where you could choose when you landed on a blank square what you wanted to have happen. Whether you wanted to change the people or the way it was done or the time it took to get done. And people love those blank squares. And afterwards, when we debriefed, I asked, well, what did you love about them? And they're like, well, I was completely free to make my own decisions. Duh, that's what she wanted, right? And so they decided they wanted to implement the blank gold card into everything they did. So whenever you pulled a blank gold card, you could choose how that was going to get done. You could change a meeting time. You could shift the meeting focus. You could change any piece of it. I love that. And that's an awesome way for us to think about how our imagination works. We always have these blank gold cards that we can use anytime we want to shift. And so one of the things I've been wanting to shift was my dog walking, because I use the yanking crank method of getting my dog to go a certain direction instead of finding a great way to do it, like a treat course correct or whatever. So choose a behavior that you want to change right now. It might be eating before you go to bed, or whatever it is that you think that you're doing that you think, whoa, if I could just break that habit, that would be awesome. Now in my case, this yanking crank, I knew that there was a way to do it. I had seen in a dog training book where when the dog pulled you a certain way, if you simply turned on your heel and went a different direction, the dog would be like, what? What are you doing? Where are we going? Okay. And then they'd follow you. And so instead of just trying it right away, because as soon as that dog would yank on that thing, I would do my old behavior without even thinking about it because I was using my negative bias, my pre-programmed response. Well, I began to use my imagination with this. So before I went to bed at night, I imagined myself turning on my heel and going the other direction. And I imagined it over and over and over again. And so the next day, when I went out to walk the dog, sure enough, the dog started to pull. But at that moment, I had programmed myself enough that I turned and automatically started this new behavior. And that's what you can do. And so this week, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to use your imagination to program a shift. Program it in your brain. So find something that you want to change. Last week we talked about social media and using that. This week it might be something around your health or what you say or do and when you get upset. Find something you want to change and then just write it down and write anything you know about it. What's the normal behavior that you have? Then use your imagination to brainstorm what it would look like when you were not doing that. when you're doing something completely different. Brainstorm it and imagine it. Set your alarm to go off on your watch every 3 hours and imagine yourself just for 30 seconds doing that new behavior, and then see what happens. And when you get to that place where you're in the choice point of the moment, you're about to say the thing you wish you hadn't, or you're about to eat the thing you wish you didn't, say to yourself, change, shift. If you find yourself reverting to the old pattern, change and shift it. But I'll bet by programming your imagination, you're going to get a completely different response. And I can't wait to see what you find out about yourself. This is all about learning, so have fun exploring that. And I can't wait to see you next week. Until next time, up your creative genius.